It's a great treat to have Susan Waldman with me to do our Hitting the Books version this week. One of my dear friends in this business and one of the really go-get-'em reporters that I've ever known. But we're going to talk about a book here.
Oh,
so I asked Susan, as I do with all of our guests, you pick one out and you tell me why. So what's your book?
My book is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. When I was in college, I went through a whole obsession with F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I have everything he's ever written and every short story and the crack up with all his writings and everything. And there was a movie called Fahrenheit 451 100 years ago, where they were burning books, and how they were going to keep the literary process going was that everyone picked a book. And that was the big discussion in college. What the book would you pick? And it was going to be Great Gatsby for me. Why? It's so American at the time, always looking for something that you can't quite reach, the light at the end of the dock across the harbor, the perfect man, the perfect woman, but you are never going to get out of what you were born to be. Gatsby, he tried so hard, he did everything right, and he made $1 billion, and he was a star, and everybody wanted to meet him, but he couldn't get away from himself. And it's so America, because you are who you are, and you're born who you are, and no matter what you do, you can get out of it sort of, but not really. And then if you attain what you want, most of the time it's not what you want, and you're better to go off your back. And if you look at Fitzgerald, he was such a romantic, but everything in every book, the hero dies or the woman gets sick. Nothing works. At the end, there's a tragic part of all of it. And but the star of everything is his writing, which is perfect. I just said to you, there will never be a good version made of The Great Gatsby on television, on movies, because the star of the book is the prose. It's not the people. And once you put dialogue coming out of people's mouths, and you have to fix it because nobody talks like that anymore, you've ruined the story, which is why it never works. But to me, it's a perfect book. I just love it.
Well, it has gained in stature, it seems, with each passing year. It is far more popular as years go by than it was when it was written. Why?
Well, I think back then you have to remember the style. And Ernest Hemingway, who Fitzgerald was always being put up against, he was very sparse in his writing. There was nothing flowery. And they thought he was just went overboard with things, but he didn't. It was a different group. Ernest Hemingway was this big macho, not particularly educated, but sort of educated, old man in the sea, and all those things that he had done, the bullfighting and the women. Fitzgerald was different. He was different. He was educated at Princeton, and he always tried to be upper class and wrote so beautifully, and they thought it was flowery. I remember hearing that word, and I think now there's such an appreciation for someone that can actually put a sentence together. Yeah. And the beauty of his writing, it's never going to go away. You know what, don't you wish that he would know? Don't you wish that he would know what he meant to so many people? I wish that. That's the saddest thing. Because
you said he died believing he was a failure.
He died believing he was a failure. He never finished a book called The Last Tycoon. He had written screenplays in Hollywood. A lot of them didn't even put his name on it. And he died of, heart attack brought on by alcohol. But he was the failure in the marriage, the failure to save his wife Zelda. He took that very, very seriously. He wanted to save her and couldn't. You can't do that. That's why all his books have this tragic character. If you look at even the first one, and This Side of Paradise, the hero starts out to be this golden boy at Princeton who dies in the war. I mean, it's so that everything that's perfection, it can't survive in this world, and that was Fitzgerald, and I think people have come to appreciate that more than Matadors and Ava Gardner and whatever Hemingway did.
I think you hit it right on the head. Susan, it's just a great treat always to see you, but thanks very much for sharing.
Thanks for asking me. We don't get to do this. I could go on for about 10 days with this, and we don't get to talk about this stuff.
I love it. Susan Waldman, our guest here, and that's our Hitting the Books this week.